Welcome to Small Town Big Life Podcast, coming at you from the tool shed behind Grace Fellowship Church. Today we have Mike with us and Vince. Is it Vince or Vincent? Which do you prefer?
It doesn't matter, Vincent.
Okay, so we're gonna learn a lot about Mike. Mike is Jackie's husband and has been here once before, right?
No, he's never been on.
You've never been on the podcast?
Nope. No.
I thought you were once. Okay. Oh, my wife was. That was it.
That was it.
We were waiting on one of the husband and wife. Okay, so we're going to talk about vintage toys, collectibles, and this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now let's start right out of the gate because Jackie told me about you guys doing this vintage toy venture. That's how this conversation came up, and I was like envious because I can't. Anytime I've gone to Comic-Con stuff like that. Anytime I go in a toy store or something, it's just like, man, I'm 10 again, and it's awesome, and I want to buy these things when I see them at the conventions. So tell me how you did it. What made you go, yeah, you know what, I'm going to do this?
So last year in, July I think it was, we went to a toy expo, and I felt like I was a little kid again, like at Christmas time, opening up my toys with my Thundercat sword, going like this. So it was so much fun, and then her and I have been talking about, things that we enjoy doing, and she's like, well, why don't we try to sell the stuff? So the guy that I bought my turtle collection from at the expo, we got a hold of him and set up a website and just started selling, and it's going pretty well right now.
Mm-hmm.
Man, people want to relive that stuff. I know I do.
Yeah.
I know I do.
Oh, absolutely.
We talked about a while back doing I think 80s nostalgia, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we told you, hey, we're talking to Mike about doing vintage toys, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now Jackie, obviously, and Mike, since their husband and wife did this venture together, we're going to dig more into that. But I want to hear from you, Vince, about, I guess what we talked about being a kid again. I mean, do you see old toys? Are you like that? Or are you like, oh, man?
Yes, yeah, very much so.
Yeah, I can't stay. I mean, I don't know what it is. Some things your whole life, like I remember when I gave up some toys, like when I got interested in BB guns and girls and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't want people to see me playing with my toys. And at home, I'd be like, have all my army men out and all that kind of stuff. What now? Being the girl in the group, were you like a tomboy or were you like girl toys?
Total tomboy. I had.
How did I think that?
Yeah, I had Barbies, but I ripped all their heads off.
You were like the kid on Toy Story.
I was the kid on Toy Story.
Yep.
Yeah, because they were just boring and they were all so pretty. And it's like rip their heads off.
I destroyed mine with firecrackers and BB guns and all that stuff. I was like, me too.
Yeah.
And now, eating crow later, I'm like, man, or regret. I was like,
Yeah.
why did I do that?
Yeah. Could have paid for college with that stuff.
Yep. So what's the name of the toy venture for people listening? So the website and all that.
Turtle Man and Princess Evie.
Turtle.
The actual website is eturtleshop.com.
True.
eturtleshop.com.
Yes, but our business is Turtle Man and Princess Evie. Princess Evie is our dog.
I know.
Yeah.
So I know the dog. so obviously the turtle's your thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like your main.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was into the turtles. I'm older than you, but I was I lived with our drummer, and before I'd go to work in the morning, I'm like, I'd watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon, and he's like, dude, you're a grown up. Why do you watch this? I go, dude, this is the most original. This is a new idea. This is cool. It's gonna. And then I talked to Jackie. I said, does Mike obviously knows about all the Daredevil influence in there, and she said, yeah. Instead of the enemy being the hand like in Daredevil, it's the foot.
It's the foot.
And instead of stick, it's splinter. And So I always like that. Vince, were you ever into the turtles?
Absolutely, yep. I got all the turtles still in their packages at my house.
You do you?
Yep.
Still in the package?
Still in the package.
So from the ones from when you were a kid?
Yeah. Well,
or
started
reissued ones?
No. I see the turtles were released when I was a teenager. So
okay,
I wasn't collecting them. The only one that I got as a teenager because I thought it was cool was, of course, Mike Angelo.
Yeah.
He had nunchucks. Nunchucks was a cool thing.
Yeah. Every kid made their own nunchuck.
Yeah, every kid made their own nunchuck. That's true. So Yeah, that was the only turtle that I got. But then I went to like a Comic-Con, and somebody was selling them for like dirt cheap, still in the package. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take them. Why not?
Some of them, I'm surprised how cheap they are when I see them, and other ones I'm surprised how expensive they are.
I know. I've had it.
Absolutely.
And I know that the guys that know, I know you probably, they know what's worth what. But I remember Pawn Stars.
Yeah.
I love that show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too. So they had the turtle dude, or not the turtle dude, the toy expert guy on there one time. Because Mike's always like, well, let me check with my buddy. And so the guy that owns the toy, and he had the head of not Stretch Armstrong, but Stretch Monster, which was the green monster like Stretch. And I had that as a kid, and I didn't like it. I thought it was stupid. It was cool for 20 minutes, and all they had was the head, because I guess there was a limited run, and it was like vulgar money.
Yeah.
And I thought, I threw that thing in the trash.
Yeah.
And I just, and so many things. What's did you let go of something you regret, or are you like one of these, you hold on to everything?
Oh, I held on to everything.
Yeah.
Package still in the package and all?
No, I played with them, but
Right.
they're still somewhere.
And they're in good shape.
Oh no, they're beat up.
Yeah.
Well, I
That's the
mean,
thing.
there's a difference between being played with beat up and being abused beat up.
They're played with.
Beat up.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
You got any toys from your childhood?
Yes, I actually have a original Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker.
Sweet.
Nice.
It's not in great shape, but it's my childhood from 1983. Yeah.
Yeah. I was born in '67, so we're going back. So I'm definitely the senior in your room. What about you, Jackie? Do you have any? No, I don't. I'm sure no, right?
No, because we moved around a lot.
Yep.
And right before I went to college, we had a huge moving sale, and I sold all my toys for nothing.
Does anybody here have the situation where your mom sold your stuff without your permission?
No.
Oh, I did. I'd find stuff in the yard sale. Mom like, what are you doing with this? And she's like,
My mom
"Get up,
actually
play
encouraged my collection. Like, she would come home from yard sales and be like, hey, look what I got for you.
That's
with-"
cool.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That is cool.
That's very cool.
My mom didn't know. Setting stuff on fire and blowing them up with firecrackers. And at the time, you don't think about that stuff.
No.
You're being a kid, and or pyro in my case.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
popping on the microphone there.
You're okay.
Definitely got a little fire.
I used to give all my before I ripped their heads off, I would give them mohawks and, just
Give them
totally-
haircuts.
So give them haircuts, totally destroy them, and then rip their heads off. But
See,
yeah.
when GI Joes came out for boys,
You're talking about the doll.
the
not
doll,
the
yeah,
3.5.
it's because some people were like, and a lot of boys didn't even think about it. Grown-ups are like, well, that's a doll,
Right.
but boys didn't. They're like, hey, it's got a gun, it's got a
Yeah,
canteen.
it was
It's an
considered
action
an
figure.
action
Yeah.
figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then action figures came out, and they were. I think the first one of those were the Micronauts. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, Micronauts came out first, and then
The Migos.
Lucas said, "Hey,
Yeah.
and action figures ruled my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
They
Oh,
ruled
absolutely.
my
Mine
childhood.
too.
I mean, of all the small toys you could play with, a GI Joe doll's too cumbersome, and I wasn't into GI Joe anyway. I had this thing called Buck Hunter.
Yep.
Yeah, you know that.
I've heard of it and seen it.
Yeah, it's just safari dude, and
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
a Jeep, and it seems like all the old toys had an Indian companion, but I don't. I do Indian companion guy, but I had the animals, the elephant, and the gorilla, no, I never got the gorilla. I wanted the gorilla. I had the tiger. You push a button on the belly and the mouth. Man, I'd play with that thing forever. And anyway, so I didn't have GI Joe. I had Buck Hunter, and I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But it was still a doll. But it was a little smaller than G.I. Joe. Didn't have as many points of articulation. When you come out with action figures, it's just easier to stage things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you have the green army? Either of you have the little green army man?
Yes. I had the green mark.
That like $2.99 for, and then none of them would stand up right. You got to bend them around. And all.
And then you melt
That's
them.
where your fire.
And then you what?
Melt them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep, they were great to use live explosives with, cherry bombs and guys get paid big money now. Now the toys that we played with, no matter how old you are, you see them on like Robot Chicken. They use them for animation. They use them to take pictures.
Oh yeah.
There's A lot of stuff. Let me see what our list here. What sort of toys, action figures did you love as a child? Okay, so we're talking about these. Now you said you destroyed your Barbie dolls, but
Yeah.
did you ever go make the leap to action figures, or was it?
Star Wars action figures.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the black Darth Vader head case that all the action figures went in.
I know the case.
And I had all of them in there, and a lot of the play sets, like the Return of the Jedi play set when he falls through the glass, and all those different things. The only other girly thing I played with was Gem and the Holograms. Do you remember Gem and the Holograms?
I remember that cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but
Well, I played with those because they, at the time, before I was married, those were my initials, Gem. So it was like, oh, it's me.
oh yeah, hey.
So I did play with those. But yeah, other than that, Star Wars all the way.
Mike.
I'd have to say I played with the most G.I. Joes.
Now the figures, are they action figures or the?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Was a huge cartoon. That was big time popular.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cobra, right? That's the enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my brother, my younger brother, he's 9 years younger than me. He was all about that. By that time, I was doing other stuff, but he was all about the GI Joes and I don't know that much about it. But I know it was insanely popular, made tons of money. The toys, I mean.
If it wasn't that, I was playing with Thundercats.
Yeah.
Thunder. Yes.
Watch those
Thundercats.
Snarf. Snarf. Yeah, I remember Thundercats. What was your go-to figures, Vince?
It was G.I. Joe and Star Wars.
Where we're talking action figures,
Yes.
right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, mine started out with Star Wars. By the time Turtles came around, like I said, I was too old wasn't playing with toys and stuff anymore. I liked the Turtles though. I thought they were cool. Read the comics and
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask next. Were you guys comic guys too?
Yes, yes.
You were? Okay.
I
If
didn't
it
buy
wasn't
comics till
for
later.
if
No.
it wasn't for the electric company, do you guys remember the electric
oh
company?
yeah,
I remember the electric.
That show introduced me to Spider-Man. Like they used to have a Spider-Man segment on there.
Like its own segment or the segments from the
It
cartoon.
was a guy dressed up as Spider-Man
Oh,
helping
okay.
kids to read.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I remember the Electric Company. That was on public access channel 34 or something. We'd get that and PBS basically.
Yeah, that was before Reading
Yeah.
Rainbow.
Yeah, so if it
Yeah.
wasn't for
yeah.
the electric company back in the 70s, I wouldn't have known who Spider-Man was. Well, eventually I probably would have got into it.
Right.
But thanks to that show, I love comic books like Batman and
I got into comic books when I was a kid, and we would go shovel driveways and stuff and get some money and go to the store and spend it all on cards and comic books and bubble gum and junk. And then I quit reading comics, and then in my my 40s, I started reading them again because a buddy of mine used to go to the comic book store. We worked for this construction company every Wednesday at noon, and I'm like, dude, and I was relentless about busting his chops about reading comics. And he's like, when's the last time you read a comic book, Drew? And I said, when I was a kid. That's who they're for. He goes, not anymore. And he goes, the people who wrote those write them now for the people that grew up reading them. They get hire really good writers, and you should read one. And I said, okay. So, and I'll never forget this. This is funny. We were this whole wall of comics at the comic book store, and I go, who's Deadpool? And he goes, nobody reads Deadpool. And I go. And here's the funny part. He goes, but you would love him. And I go, well, that's a funny thing to say. Nobody
Yeah,
reads
really.
Deadpool, but I would love him. He goes, I think you would love Deadpool. And I said, okay. So I grabbed like 4 Deadpools, and I'm like, the next week I was in there on Wednesday, this, and I got right back into it. And I'm like, man, it's an expensive habit. But Deadpool wasn't as R-rated as he is in the movies.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he did break the fourth wall. He was different than every other comic book, and he was my favorite. In the movies, I was like, man, they kind of took some of this too far. But anyway, I'm talking too much about comics, but I read comics. You read comics. Did you read comics?
A little bit, not much.
So it wasn't like the toys drove you to the comics. You weren't driven to the toys by the comics,
No.
right? Yeah, and I'm sure. Did you read comics?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Yeah, they were.
It wasn't really a girl thing. Like, it wasn't cool to read comics.
Well, right, that's true. So, Mike, I got to know, when Jackie told me you guys were doing this, I kind of put myself in your shoes, and I started, first of all, thinking about how awesome it'd be. But then and this thought crosses my mind when I see the dudes on TV or I go to Comic-Con or something like that. I'm like, this is my stuff. I wouldn't want to sell any of it. I mean, don't you have stuff like people go, hey, I want to buy that? And you're like,
Yes.
I don't want to sell that, man.
I had that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because he saw my wall of turtles, and I'm like, no, that's mine.
He kept the guy, because when we're dealing with someone, this guy was a grader, and we had to like hold things up to the camera so he could see if there were veins in the card and everything. And he kept asking me, how about that one right behind your head there?
Oh, yeah.
No. Are you sure you wouldn't ever sell that one right there? No.
Yeah.
He brought it up like 3 times.
He still texts me.
I know. No.
I would have a hard time parting with that. And you, Vince, you just don't sell stuff, right? You're like, no, I can't.
Yeah, my wife wants me to sell everything, but
Yeah. Well, you might. The thing is, I've learned collecting anything in life, anything at all, it has to be a labor of love. Because if you do it trying to get rich, unless you're going to run a business and you have a business sensibility about it, if you just do it because you think this is going to be worth a lot of money, usually the things you think are going to be worth a lot of money aren't.
Right.
And it's the things that nobody thinks is going to be worth a lot of money that are. And so, I don't know, it's a tough game. But when I see something, like if I saw, I've never seen a toy that I thought was unreasonably expensive. Before we came in here, I was like looking at some, and I saw a set that I played with as a kid. It was probably $6 when I was a kid. Now it's 90.
Well,
And it's out of the package and played with, but in good shape. And I thought, I mean, I don't make that much dough, but if I had it, I'd buy it.
it's one of those things where when we've experienced it going to the Comic-Cons and going to the shows, that I'm normally a rather mature adult person. But
Yeah,
if
right.
I saw the prototype Boba Fett with the rocket back,
that's a super.
if I saw that in real life, I would be squealing like a little pig.
That's
just,
right, but that's almost above toy collecting.
that's like
an
holy grail toy.
that's like industry collecting. For people listening that don't know what we're talking about, it was the prototype of the Boba Fett toy where the rocket shot out.
The rocket shot out.
And one of them wasn't even painted yet.
It was on Toy Hunter, which is on Amazon Prime. Great show.
No, it's on Discovery.
Oh, now it's on Discovery. Yeah. And he found it. There's this guy I know, and he's got a comic shop, and he's got something you might be interested in. And then it's like,
So
it rises out of a box.
Talk cash. How much?
15,000, I think it was.
15,000. He ended up selling it at a Comic-Con for 17, 18.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. If you look at people that are like, if I was loaded rich and I wanted that, but even then, I could never get my head around when I was a kid. People saying save the toys. I could never keep something in a package.
No, I couldn't either.
There's no way. I mean, I took my stuff, and I was big into the adventure people, right? Mm-hmm. So the adventure people were one of the first action figures to come out. They used them to model the Star Wars action figures. I think they did. They dressed them up like little Star Wars people and said, "Look, we can do this with Star Wars things." Now, what they came with, they were called the adventure people because they come in themes. Like one would be 2 dudes in a tent and a boat and camping, and they'd have a motorcycle and a Jeep, and then one would be a TV news crew, and there were 2 cameras, and you could like look through one of the cameras. And I used to take the camera, the news crew, the diving team, and I would set up scenarios like I was making a movie.
Yeah.
Hours.
Yeah.
And then I would take all they had all these different like adventure, like safari guys, helicopter rescue, all these different sets. And that was and then Star Wars came out, and I'm like, bye, adventure people.
But right now, the way you just smiled when you were describing that story.
Yeah. Yep.
Now imagine if you went to a show and you saw a box with adventure people in it.
I would be lying if I said I have not searched for them
Right?
online. Yeah.
It's that
but I haven't seen them at a con or anywhere. I'm sure they're there.
They're probably there somewhere.
Yeah,
but I think that's part of what the appeal is, especially to our generation, is we did play with them like crazy, and we destroyed them, and we had so much fun doing it. And now, there it is. And it's pristine. And I can just look at it and think about those times when I had so much fun. Mm-hmm. I think that's a big part of it. Is just the nostalgia of it.
It's reliving, because before the internet, the kid's imagination was all in your head, and it was like your head is so much more expansive than anything on a touch screen.
Right.
It's so much more real when everything's tangible right in front of you.
Right.
Vince, what was your holy grail toy? What was your big, like, if you had to look back over your childhood? I know Ralphie was his BB gun, but a BB gun I think is something for me. I don't know if everybody agrees with this. Is like when you're sliding away from what I would define as toys into being like a young man kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
bike and I don't consider bike and BB gun toys, even though they kind of are. I consider toys things you hold and.
It's kind of a rite of passage
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Now,
when you're a boy.
Are you talking like was the Holy Grail that you didn't receive? Or?
Well, I know Jackie wrote that down. Both. What did you always want you didn't get, and what did you have that you would just was like this is what you played with more than anything? Your favorite thing.
I had the GI Joe aircraft carrier.
Oh wow.
Shut up.
I swear to God, I
We were
had
just
the
talking
G.I.
about it
Joe
in the
aircraft
car.
Carrier. Yes. My brother and I, we got it, and we see things like online now where we regret
Yes.
getting rid of it. So yes, I did have the GI Joe aircraft carrier. What I always wanted was the Voltron Matchbox, the Matchbox version of Voltron of the Lions.
Yeah, yeah.
I have never received it. I got this like crappy version, the one where you pull back and they like zoomed across the floor.
Yeah.
But there was like totally different from what the Matchbox version was. So I would say that would be my holy grail that I've never received, always wanted. But yeah, I did have the aircraft carrier.
How big is that?
Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
7.5 foot long.
About the table, right?
Yeah.
What?
Maybe-
Yeah.
How much did that cost?
$110.
It was
Back in the day.
$199 when it was released in the J.C. Penney Sears catalog, and now
That's actually
it's
less than I
like-
thought. That for
And
something
now
that big.
it's
But
like
for the time.
What?
That's something you buy. Like, do you have siblings?
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
Yes, my brother.
So-
well, I actually had a sister. She passed away last month.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry.
My older brother and my younger brother. My younger brother and me were the ones that were in so much GI Joe, like everything. Like you name it, we probably had it. We had the hovercraft.
Well, so I'm saying you
Yeah.
probably you
Yeah.
had to share.
yeah.
So
No, well, yeah.
the
Yeah,
aircraft
yeah.
carrier. I mean, your parents aren't going to buy you each one, right?
No,
I mean,
no.
So
yeah.
so you got something that big. Because I'm just going back to being a kid again. Are all your friends like, "Hey man, can we come
Yes,
over?"
absolutely. Like I guarantee, after we received that aircraft carrier, we were like the number one kid, the number one house in the neighborhood.
What'd
yeah.
you do with it? What'd you end up doing with it?
We actually put it in our house when we moved, and the house got condemned, and it kind of
It fell into. Oh, that's.
Yeah.
And we just saw one at that comic show, at the toy show that we went to. 4,000?
Yeah, something around there.
And did you guys know?
Is it
like,
$4,000 for that?
Yes.
One of the pieces that were hard to find is actually like the chain link up in the top of the top deck. It was like one of the pieces that always end up missing, and that is like the most expensive sought after thing that people want.
Always, always.
Yeah, it's like the head of that stretch monster thing
Right?
I was talking about. What was your holy grail? Your like that ruled your childhood? I mean, I know there's tons of toys, but I can understand how that aircraft.
Yeah.
The one that I had and played with so much was the Thundercats Thunder Tank. It was just so much fun.
I don't remember that well because again the age difference. But I remember Thundercats. Wait, so I'm assuming big.
It was probably about that big, and you could open it up, it had claws come out. I had all my GI Joes in there, anything I could stick in there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
you seen one since your childhood, like for sale anywhere?
Not recently.
See, now that's what I'm talking about. Doing what you're doing. If you did come across one,
Oh, I'd buy it.
Oh,
you'd
yeah.
buy it, but you'd be like, "I'm keeping it."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
see,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I mean. That's what it's like. That's the part I think would be hard, man. Not because there's so many things I would come across that I would be like, I can't part with this, and I don't know. That's to me, that's the most challenging part of doing a business with a product that you love, and it's rare.
Yep.
So the Thundercats tank was your thing. Yours was the aircraft carrier. Jackie, I'm assuming you're going to say the Death Star.
The Death Star.
Was it the Death Star?
The Death Star. I
Yeah.
wanted it so bad, and it was one of those things
and
where,
it didn't. The outside of it. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it didn't look right, and I don't know. it was really expensive, and we didn't have anywhere to put it, and
It was like this tall.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it was like mostly like cardboard.
Yeah.
It was it.
Yeah.
I don't. Looking back now,
Well,
I
the
look
little
at it,
dividers and stuff.
Yeah. Looking back now, I look at it and go, man, that was janky. But if I, the 10-year-old me was like,
Oh yeah, when you're a kid.
And again, one of the sought after things on that Death Star was actually the Munster that
From
was
the trash compactor.
From the trash compactor.
compactor Munster.
Sure was.
Yeah.
I had man. It's hard for me to think about which one because of the TIE fighter, the X-wing fighter.
I thought you were going to say firecrackers.
Well, those weren't. No, that falls into the BB gun category when you're trying to. No, I think oddly a toy I came across because I put this on the list. If there was a thing in your childhood that you came across by accident, and there was one I did, and I played with it forever. It was the Shogun Warriors.
Oh.
And they were like this tall.
Yeah, they actually had a Godzilla one.
And I know that came out. That was later. I wasn't really into that. I wanted the main 4, and I had 2 of them. And they, one of them, my favorite one I had, he shot like rockets out of his hand, and they were huge. And because I used my action figures, and the Shogun Warrior was, the villain. Mm-hmm. And all the Star Wars people had to kill the Shogun Warrior. And, your parents come upstairs and, pick up all these toys. Listen, I've been working on this for 2 hours. There's a battle about to happen here. What do you mean pick up all your toys? Do you want to ruin my life, You know how real this is to me? And the Shogun Warrior, I wish I could remember the one's name. But because that tied into everything else. I used it with the Death Star. I used it with the Avenger people. I used it against Star Wars. And I used to look for, I think every kid does this, look for the ideal place to play with action figures.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like if you got a super cool coffee table with compartments and stuff like that, and your mom's like, no. That would be the perfect base for my X-Wing fighter.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you ever get in trouble for, did you, see, it's funny, you're, I don't know, what, 15, 16 years younger than me?
Yeah.
So you're a little younger than my brother. So, did you ever do that? Like, your mom, get this stuff out of here. You hijack part of the house for your toy area. What was it? For me, it was coffee tables and
It was probably right in the living room.
Yeah.
Because we had a TV stand and all the different compartments.
All the compartments.
yeah.
Yep.
With the floor model TV, and you could build stuff on top of that.
Yeah, and there's nothing more aggravating if I don't know if any of you have been through this living hell when your dog tears up one of your toys. If you destroy it yourself, it's okay, but when the dog does it, you're like, I hate you.
It's
Ruined my
depressing.
life.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I actually
Get closer to your mic a little bit.
I'm sorry. We had a fire.
Yeah.
And my friend, before I even got married, he bought me this Punisher statue figure.
Ooh.
Okay.
And when the fire happened, we were moving everything into my in-laws. And I just put that Punisher action figure in a plastic bag and put it on top of the counter. Then we went back to the house to get more stuff. And when we got back to my mother-in-law's house, the dog ripped open the plastic bag.
Oh,
and
no.
There was pieces of the Punisher all over the place. So needless to say, my wife said, yep, we're going to have to find a new place to live. I can tell you right now.
Well, it makes you wonder what a dog, of all the stuff in the room, they're like, I want to eat that.
Yeah.
That looks expensive. So, how long ago did you guys just recently started your business? Right?
Yeah.
A month and a half ago?
A couple of months ago, yeah.
So, how are you thinking so far? Are you thinking, man, this is going to be hard? Because, parting with stuff.
Parting with stuff?
Yeah.
No.
No, it wasn't hard at all. Because I knew what I wanted when I bought it. There's 4 items, but the rest I was okay with selling it.
That's kind of the thing, is that there's this one thing that you really, really, really want. But then there's these other 4 things that I know we could sell. That other people really, really want.
People are going to do that. Like you're talking about the things you love. Let's say you got some Holy Grail turtle item, and it's worth $250, and somebody says I want that. And you're like, nope, it's not for sale. I'll give you $1,000. Are you going to say no?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
See, we might have to have a discussion about that one.
Because there are some people who will stop at nothing to get what they want, even way overpay. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to toys and comics, there's always that. You always come across that guy who just won't stop. In the end, it ends up being good for you because he's like, look, money's no object, and I'm thinking that would be the tough part. It's like we just saw it right here. It's worth $250. I'll give you $1,000, Mike. Nope. Jackie's like, huh?
Hold up. Yeah. Wait a minute.
But because see, I understand both viewpoints.
Yeah.
Because you're like, $1,000. How can you pass that up? But if I'm Mike, I'm thinking, I may never find another one of these.
Exactly.
And I love this stuff. And because collecting has to be a labor of love. Did you ever set out, Vince, to collect stuff, or were you just subconsciously thinking, or just constantly thinking, you know what? I think I'm going to take care of this and keep it.
When I became older, yes, I started collecting.
So you collect now?
Well, yeah, I guess I do. Like, I've been collecting some Batmobiles. That's the latest thing I'm collecting.
Mm-hmm. Like Hot Wheel type or big?
Yes,
big.
but actually, the bigger size, Hot Wheel and the bigger size.
Yeah.
That's the ones I've been getting.
Have you seen the Lego Batmobile from the 1989 movie?
No.
We
have it.
We have it.
Oh, yeah?
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I bet it is pretty sweet.
And
Yeah.
Batman? What was that? X-wing or was it X-wing?
The Batwing.
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 Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we're into Legos too because we don't have kids, so we can have all
Yeah,
these
Legos
cool
are
toys.
expensive. I bought for my daughter. She's 26, 27 now. When she was little, I bought her the Millennium Falcon. It's this big.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's gone, but it's worth like serious money.
Oh yeah.
The
And
Lego?
the Lego, the big
Lego
one,
one.
not the recent one.
No,
The one
the original.
And it took forever
Yeah,
to put it together. Like I said, it's that big around, it's this thick, and
Yeah, we have it.
yep, I figured you.
We're not selling it ever.
See.
Well, okay, but that's different. Lego,
Okay, so you have double standards.
But you
if
have
he's
to
got
take
turtle
it-
stuff he don't want to part with, but with you it's a Star Wars stuff.
but you would have to destroy it. You'd have to take it apart.
Oh, you have it put together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now in this
That's
day
the
and age,
thing.
who gets a brick and mortar? Nobody does, unless you're in a big city.
No, no.
That's plus. I mean, the world we live in, you can't. Your stuff's not safe.
No,
In a
no.
brick and mortar, especially if you have collectibles and
Well,
stuff
that's
like
why
that.
we like the Comic Cons and things because you get to meet interesting people. You get to see stuff that cosplay is really fun to watch because people go all out, man.
I had a interesting experience with one of those. I wrote a script. Well, the Groundskeepers.
Yeah, yeah.
That started out. That was in the '90s. It was a comic first, and Greg Horn. I don't know if you know who he's an artist, and he read it and he agreed to do the cover.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Comic-Con to meet him, and for me, I mean, I've met a lot of people, but meeting Greg Horn was like total nerd thing. I don't know
yeah.
if you can research who he is later, but he did the covers of a bunch of Marvel, a bunch of DC, like I was talking with Greg Horn on the phone, and he loved the Groundskeepers. Very different from the script you read. Very different. I still have all the artwork and all the stuff when it was going to be a graphic novel. And I said at Comic-Con, well, I'll come talk to you there. I'm going to look like dressed up like Captain America. Is that okay? And I was kidding, of course. And but now cosplay has gone far beyond anything it used to be.
What has?
It's an art.
It absolutely. I could never. I see the people that do it, and I know you guys. If you're into the toy stuff, I don't. You're in. You. That's part of that culture,
It is.
and it's amazing what people put into that now.
Absolutely.
I mean,
the
the-
money, the time, the intricacy, the craftsmanship.
Do you go? Have you gone to Comic-Con, Vince?
I gone to one.
Which one did you go to?
Someone in New Jersey.
So, well, that was
Okay.
probably pretty decent.
Yeah, yeah,
Did
yeah.
you go?
We've gone to a couple of them now, yeah.
Which ones did you go to?
There's one in New York.
Up in Saratoga and then the toy show down here. And we went to a show in Philly. I don't remember what it was, though.
I don't remember. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I have
Yeah.
to go back to.
So
all
you
the
gone to the
pictures.
bigger city ones. So that they're the big ones are. I went to the Chicago one and San Diego. Those are supposed to be the two biggest ones. I think
We
San
want to go to San
Yes.
Diego.
San Diego's
so
supposed to
bad.
be big. Chicago
I wanna
Comic Con
go
was
to San
awesome.
Diego.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so much fun because if you're not into comics, man, there's so many toys.
Yeah.
And if you're with someone and you're not into either, the cosplay.
Yeah.
It's like, it's. I don't know how anyone can go there and not feel like you're 9
Yeah.
again. And that's what's cool about it.
And then even if you're not old enough to remember some of the stuff that we remember, the Funkos that have come out have been so cool lately. The little Funko dolls.
I don't know what that is.
I have a lot of them. I have like 100 of them, but they're like this big and it's got a big old head. And
Why am I not?
Oh,
surprised?
yes. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But those are so popular now with, well, me and with other people that's something that gets people in the door. And then, you start looking at this other stuff, this cool stuff from before you were even born.
Well, you get a swag bag every day that you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, in Chicago you did. You get Wizard World, with
the pins and everything.
Yep. So look, I'm going to consult. We have a list like always because we're professional here.
Yeah.
And is there anything on the list that you guys looked at that sticks out in terms of what Christmas morning stands out most because of a certain toy? That's kind of I think I wrote that question thinking about Ralphie and his BB gun.
His BB gun.
Yeah. Because I can remember, I don't know. I don't remember what thing. I acquired the Death Star and it wasn't on Christmas. I traded it. Like, did you trade with your friends? Like,
No,
you didn't?
my parents would have yelled at me for that.
Okay, so no, that's interesting because there was every type of kid in my neighborhood. There was a type of kid where the parents like, you ain't trading that stuff. I bought that for you. And then there's a type of kid the parents like, I don't care, just go out and play, do whatever you want.
Right.
And then trade your stuff. I could care less. And my parents were the latter. They had a price. Like if something was expensive, they're like, no, you can't trade that. But if it was something that wasn't that expensive, like an action figure, they're okay. And I got caught. Me and my friend got caught stealing when we were kids. Right.
Okay.
I know. I was a little kid. I'm a pastor. I know. Confession. We were at this store, and I didn't have a. We kind of had a collection between us, all of them. We didn't have Chewbacca. I stole Chewbacca, and he really stole it. I covered for him. But the embarrassing thing was at school when everyone found out, because that was the old days when the teacher, the store manager's like, come here, and you're crying because you're in the office. You think that I'm going to prison now for the rest of my life, and my dad's going to beat me when I get home. It was like a total. I was a little kid. And then they came and picked me up, and I got a whooping when I got home and all this stuff. But the biggest embarrassment was everyone busting our chops at school for stealing Chewbacca. Chewbacca!
Of all
Why would you
things.
take Chewbacca? You didn't even take Darth Vader or a Stormtrooper. You took Chewbacca? And I was like, man. Like they didn't care about the stealing is wrong part of it. It's like, if you're going to risk your life, because when you're a little kid, that's risking your life. I can still feel that whooping. Stealing. I'd go back, apologize to her. I was like, I'll be better off in jail than I will be at home.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway.
So here's a question. Over the years, toys have become so much more realistic and more lifelike and better. And I know that's part of the reason we got into some of it is like the Alien action figures from the movie Alien, or some of those other action figures that are just really, really good now. Have you found any, seen any of the ones that are really articulated and real and
somebody gave me, when I was in my band, gave me a gift, Todd McFarlane's toy line.
Yeah. That's
So
what
Todd
I mean.
McFarlane's toys, and they gave me there was a guy who was a fan of our band or whatever, and he gave me this Kiss dolls,
Yes.
the whole set, and they were, they were already. They were mounted on these plaques, and they had all the things. They were out of the package, and I'm like, I didn't want to take them because I'm like, I don't want to,
Right.
And now here's the thing about that: those toys, as amazing as they are not meant to be played with.
No, that's what I was going to say.
And it's like when I was a kid. I mean, and they're not really for kids. They're kind of like it's kind of a cheating thing. It's kind of like going to an adult. Hey, you want to collect toys? Here's one that you'll be glad not to open. And you're like, oh, great. But when I see toys, I want to see the stuff I played with.
Yeah.
Now I pick those up and I look at them and I go, wow, look at all this work. And is it worth the collecting? Yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't take me back to my childhood.
Right.
What were you going to say, Vince?
That's the majority part of my collection. The McFarlane movie Maniac line.
Yeah.
Like my favorite one out of that series is I have the Jaws. The Jaws where it's like a diorama. The back of the boat and Quint like right there
Oh,
with the
nice.
machete, and Jaws is coming up out of the water, going after him.
They're so amazing. They're
They
so
are.
intricate.
The detail. Do you guys know about Todd McFarlane? Like
Yeah.
who he is and
Yeah,
his
yeah,
history and all that stuff. Okay, so yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they put some work in and some detail on those things. So for people who collect them, kudos to you. But like I said, I didn't play with them. I wish they had tools that were that awesome when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I would have lost all the parts. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know, so man, I don't know. Okay, went to Christmas morning. Any toys that you previously didn't know about or stumbled across as a kid, maybe at a friend's house, etc., and loved? Okay, I already said Shogun Warriors, but for me it was also Micronauts. You know the Micronauts?
Yeah, I know what they are. I always wanted the Ghostbusters toys. I only had like 2, but when I would go to my cousin's house, they had all the Ghostbusters toys, like the Proton Pack and all that.
Oh wow!
Like the
I didn't
original
even,
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. The first movie.
Yeah.
What about
You
you?
didn't get me that stuff for Christmas, honey.
I know. It's hard to find.
What say you, Vince? Did you stumble across anything like, wow, look, I didn't know about this. This is cool.
Well, the new HasLab stuff that they're putting out, this company called HasLab, they're going out of this world by putting reissued G.I. Joe stuff out. Like they just redid the aircraft. They want
The aircraft carrier.
No, not the aircraft carrier, the plane itself,
Okay.
the Sky Striker.
All right.
The more detail they put into that thing, but they want like $500 just for that thing alone.
No.
Yeah, that's the.
I wouldn't mind getting into that stuff. But like I said, I'm right now collecting Batmobiles and Star Wars Action Fleet. I don't know if you've seen them with the little figures.
Are they like really, really small?
Yes.
Okay, I think I know
I mean,
what you're talking
the
about.
ship isn't, but the little
The
figure.
little guys. are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
got
I've seen
like
those.
a couple of them.
I saw Batman. Batman and Robin was a toy I stumbled across I didn't know about when I was a kid. I was with some of our neighbors, and we were playing. I was over at their house, and they weren't the action figures; they were the dolls.
Yeah.
I didn't know they existed, and I was a kid, so I loved the TV show.
So they were like the Mego dolls.
They were like like G.I. Joe. I mean, they moved, and they had our points of articulation and all that stuff. And I loved the cartoon, even though it was before the TV show. Even though it came out in the '60s, and I was still. But reruns were on cable, and it was so colorful. You couldn't take your eyes off of it. And when I saw the toys were the same way. Batman, Robin, the Joker. I'm like, where do I find this?
Right.
I need to construct a Batcave. You talked about what's the toy you wanted you never got. That was it.
The Batcave?
For me, no. I got a Batman. I traded somebody just for the Batman. It's like had one glove and the ear was bit off. And so, it didn't have all the cool cape wasn't there. And I'm like, this ain't really.
Yeah.
And that's when they had clothes. You'd put clothes on them with that one snap at the back of the top of the neck. And so my Batman was pretty lame. But my friends, they had all that. And then they moved away. And I'm like, man. And I could never find it. And then, that was the one thing I wanted because I had a whole plan. I'm like, I'm going to get a Batcave. I'm going to, let's do this. I'm 8.5, 9. This is serious.
This is a life plan.
You were getting ready to say something. I think I interrupted.
No. I was just going to say that going to a friend's house, that's how I got introduced to She-Ra. Because I didn't know about
wasn't She-Ra like the
she was
He-Man's
twin sister.
They were in the same universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. I thought she was just like poor. Like, hey, here's one for the girls.
No, but I didn't know about it, and because I wasn't watching He-Man regularly because it was for boys. And then I went to somebody's house and she had all this She-Ra stuff. I'm like, who's She-Ra? Who's She-Ra? Princess of Power.
You don't know who She-Ra is?
Yeah, get with it, kid. But yeah, I love She-Ra. She's awesome.
That was your okay.
What about My Little Ponies?
I had My Little Ponies, but you know how people like.
Those would have been My Little Bernies if.
Yeah. I never got into let's make our ponies talk to each other and pretend they're running in a field and all that. It was like, no, let's play bowling and knock them all over.
You
and
cut their hair too?
Once in a while. Well, they smelled too.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
They smelled?
Their
Were
butt
they scratch and
smelled.
sniff?
It had a scratchy on their butt on some of them.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Their butt
That's
smelled.
Like a scratch and sniff butt?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
For real. Yeah, like Buttercup. I think Buttercup and Apple something.
Oh, because they had. Okay.
Because they had girly, flowery names and they had little sniffy thingies on their butt.
That's all Greek to me. Sorry.
Yeah. Cabbage Patch Kids?
Oh, that was the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
I remember when those come out, people were going nuts. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And, they got their own. It's the same thing with Beanie Babies. Now, I don't mean to insult anybody watching or listening. I just don't see it. I don't get it.
Yeah. It's one of those things.
Let's see, I was just seeing something on here. Is there a toy, like, because we talked about if you get approached by somebody like this, is there a toy that you would say, hey, man, I'm going to plop down whatever it takes to get that? Is there like something, is it that tank?
I really want, which someone still hasn't bought for me, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Krang body. It's like 12 inches.
Oh, jeez.
What is it?
It's the Krang body where it has...
Do you remember the dude that was just like a brain in the stomach of the dude?
Yes.
That guy.
That. Okay.
Came out in 1991, and I want it in the box.
Is it a hard find?
To find it in mint condition.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been looking. I'm not finding. It was
'Cause
on his Christmas list, and now it didn't happen.
I'm trying to think when people actually started saying, "Oh, save that in the box."
Right?
Keep it in the box. Because
Always told me that.
Huh?
My parents always told me that.
My parents told me that too, but so it was obviously before any of our time. But because I put some on the list. When you see old toys, I'm talking old, like when they were wooden soldiers and metal. Everything was wood and metal, and could kill you. It came with a million small parts, choking hazard. But those things are worth stupid money now, and someone from that generation had to be the ones that start telling their kids, "Hey, you better just
Take care of your toys.
keep it." Well, I thought they were crazy when they say keep it in the package. I'm like, no. How am I gonna save the Death Star if I keep this stuff in the package?
Right?
So I'm glad I didn't, because if I had a Darth Vader right now, and it was worth, let's say, $200. I would have had more than $200 worth of fun in my childhood playing with that Darth Vader. So I no regrets with that. Now there's some things I wish I would have bought two of and kept one in the package.
Yes.
So-
Yes.
Legos are never going to go away.
No.
That was a groundbreaking thing. Every single part of your imagination works. I mean, building, putting things together, making something the way you want it to be, making something for your other toys. Were you guys ever into Legos? Did you get into Legos, Vince?
No, I really didn't get into Legos.
Really?
Yeah.
Never.
No.
Did you get into any form of building stuff like Lincoln Logs?
No, not really.
Okay.
I played with G.I. Joes and used my imagination. Like, I used the clean Xbox to be like a boat. I used,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Okay. Let me just stop you right there. So, the clean Xbox to be a boat on the carpet or in the bathtub?
A carpet.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Because I glued a bunch of Lincoln Logs together to make a raft one time with Elmer's glue. Tried to play with it in the tub. It was a horrible mess. Mom got mad. I got yelled at. The glue come apart. It's all over. It was a bad, dumb idea.
I always cut the front apart where it looks like doors coming down and have the guys coming
Yeah.
out.
And that's the kind of stuff you do when you're a kid and your parents walk in and go, "What are you doing? What is wrong with you?"
And you look at it like, I'm storming the beach. What do you think I'm doing?
Isn't it obvious what I'm doing?
Jeez.
So, did you do Legos?
I didn't start Legos till my 30s.
Yeah. Well, I know. I bought them for my kids a bunch of times. Here's a Lego pet, stocking stuffer, a little box. Well, yeah, and I'm the one doing stuff, and it's still irresistible to me. If there's
It
a
is.
table of them laying around, did you do Legos?
Oh, yeah. I grew up with Legos.
I got Legos by accident too, because my mom. I was a real little kid. My mom had when they used to have Tupperware parties.
Yes.
Remember that? So other women would come over, look at a bunch of Tupperware, and they'd all buy something. And then in the back, on the last page, there would be 2 or 3 toys for a kid. So if you had a kid, Mom would go, you could look at the toy page. And I looked at it, and I saw some Legos. Now, it was like this many Legos, right? Not a lot. But for some reason, they were in that book, and I got them, and I'm like, I need more of these.
Yeah.
I can't. This is awesome, but I need more of them. And they weren't widely available then.
No.
So that was my introduction to Legos. And then now they're everywhere. Now they're in the video games, the
Movies.
the movies.
movies, and the cartoon. Now, when I played the first, I'm just going to say this right out of the way so we don't get hung up on this topic. video games are not in this conversation as toys.
No.
Because a console might be considered a toy when you get the console, but video games, we can do another whole podcast on that. But the Lego video game, I'm just saying, they've covered everything: the toys, the cartoons, and I still think they're pretty amazing. Legos, because I used them like the Shogun Warriors, interacting with everything.
Because you could do anything with the Legos. You can make anything.
You can make anything. So you're big. Okay, so Mike, tell me which it is. More Turtles or more Thundercats?
Probably more Turtles.
Turtles. So you're G.I. Joe guy.
Yeah, I'm definitely a G.I. Joe guy.
And you're all Star Wars.
Yeah.
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 Okay. I'm Star Wars and adventure people. I think adventure people probably, which is as weird as it is, more than Star Wars. Because when the Star Wars toys came out, Star Wars, the first movie, came out when I was 10. So when the cool toys I started getting out, I was getting closer to 12 and 13. And then I was like, girls and BB guns and stuff like that. So the adventure people I had from, I don't know what time, from like 9 to 12 or 8 to 12, when you're really out in the mud playing with the toys and all that kind of stuff. That's probably why. So.
Like Commando.
I like my Commando.
I found him. You want to show him?
What? Oh, yeah.
We brought something. So he had been looking for this for a long time, and I found it. This is an original Commando, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And for the 80s?
Oh, man.
Yeah, dude.
That's
that's
pretty good.
You know, we talked about Todd McFarlane and the way that dolls look now, action figures look now, excuse me, with their faces and everything. But for this was 84?
Yeah, 84, 86.
84 or 86? It is good.
It's got what?
There's a comic in there.
I see the comic.
But this is the sort of stuff that, yes, we sell this sort of stuff on our website. Like, this is called Mint on Card because it's on the card.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't sell this.
Toys R Us.
That's funny too, is when we're looking at these old toys, and even if you find them
awesome.
like at a yard sale or something, and you see the old like KB toy sticker on it,
or
Toys R Us, or
Children's Palace was way back.
Turtles, I think they
Get
still
closer
have
to your
KB.
mic.
I think they still have the KB sticker on
the
it.
KB stickers for like $4.99 or whatever, and then in real life it's going to be $400 now. It's like, man, why didn't I keep these things?
Yeah, take that little dot out and you get the real price.
Yeah, holy cow.
Yeah, no kidding. I had the Evil Knievel when I was a kid.
Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah, and I had Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Yes.
And Hot Wheels. We used to set up Hot Wheels tracks, which are great to beat your little brother with. It's like a belt. But it's not a belt.
Definitely.
And so if you got a brother, you can fight with those things. The Hot Wheel tracks are always wonky. You try to get them to stick together. And
Do you remember the Jaws game that they had out, the plastic thing? Where the mouth was like that, and you had to reach in to get something, and if you didn't get it,
it would close. Yeah.
Wasn't it a crocodile or something?
No, it was Jaws.
It was a shark. I totally remember that. My brother had
Jaws Jaws the game.
Was it like marbles or something in there? There were little.
Well, it was like
it was a shark. It was on his back fins. It had the mouth open.
Yeah,
it was,
and there was like junk in the mouth.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You had to reach in and get that.
It was somebody trying to look at operation and say, how can we apply this to a shark?
Yeah.
And I mean, different mechanics in the way it worked. But I had that. I loved all the games where you could do, where there was a toy in it, like the shark. Like I had, Don't Break the Ice.
Yes.
Don't Break the Ice with the penguin.
And,
yeah.
And Mousetrap. Mousetrap was phenomenal because you put all. I mean, I thought it was cool. And Don't Spill the Beans was okay, but yeah, man, Rock'em Sock'em Robots. We destroyed those things.
But you can't have those toys now.
They reissued Rock'em Sock'ems.
Well, a lot of them had small parts.
It probably wasn't. The reissue one probably isn't. The same.
I saw. It's funny you said that. When I was looking at pictures before we started today, I was looking at old vintage boxes, and one of the Evil Knievel toy boxes says over 40 pieces with an exclamation mark. And now they. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. People started suing toy companies because because the parents are like, well, not parents, so.
That when we go to these Comic Cons and when we go to shows, we also look for just weird
Oh,
stuff.
sure.
We got an original in the box set of lawn darts.
Yeah, and you yelled
Oh,
at me.
we played with those constantly.
How did you
I got yelled
not?
at for that.
I didn't
See,
yell.
Oh, you did.
I didn't yell. They
I got
were
the look of
expensive.
death.
I
They
don't
were
see.
expensive.
Yeah, how much were
Listen, jarts.
75.
They were called jarts, and
Yeah, they were called jarts.
and
yeah.
everyone had them, and we had them. We played with them constantly. But
Well, that's
people,
because we were all Generation X. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
but the end was like this.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a needle.
No.
And so when you threw them up in the air, I never saw anyone get hurt ever with a jart because people said, "Move, get out of the way." You knew how to throw it. I mean, a bowling ball can kill someone if you go up and bash them on the head with it. But I know people made fun of it, but we played with them for hours. We used them. I mean, we loved them.
I just always picture somebody,
Oh yeah,
right in the eye.
It's I mean, it's a joke that writes itself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah. It's I mean, it is. In the what were we thinking files, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I did it.
again, it was the 70s. We really weren't thinking.
Yeah, no kidding. They had the knockers and
Yeah.
all those things. Yeah, man, that was.
yeah.
Yeah. Now we're just getting into cultural stuff though, because those are I don't know really toys. That was something like teenagers just carried around.
I've been trying to find. Do you remember Greatest American Hero?
Of
Yeah.
course I do.
I can find the car, but I can't find the guy.
Believe it or not, I'm walking. I remember the theme song.
I know. I can't find. People must have kept them, or everybody threw them out.
I think
Everybody threw them
Yeah.
out because kids.
You think you
none of us played with those
buried
toys.
in the desert? and,
Yeah.
with E.T.
Yeah.
We were always disappointed as kids in any cartoon or anything that would try to do comics because Hollywood's caught up to comics.
Mm-hmm.
Now they can do it. They can show it. But back then, I don't know if you've ever seen the footage of the old Spider-Man TV show.
Oh, God,
Yes.
yes.
It's unwatchable.
It's terrible.
And when you watch it, you're like, ah. And even then, I thought, come on, man. And I was a kid. I just
It's like, this is as good as we can do here, people.
well, even the cartoons were phoned in. I mean, when you watch the old cartoons, did you watch any of those, Vince? Yeah. Well, you're G.I. Joe guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So you watched them, and I know it's a stupid question, but you obviously watched Thundercats and Turtles.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And we know we all watched Star Wars. Are you a Star Wars fan?
Yes.
So did you have Star Wars toys too?
Oh yeah. I had the original release, not the bird bot, or what do they call it? Where they sent the box out first.
Oh,
yeah.
the coupon.
The early bird.
The early bird.
Oh, I didn't
I
know.
did
Yeah.
not have that,
Right.
but I had the following, which was like we had Darth Vader, a stormtrooper, Jawa.
I was going to say, if you had the early bird, we're going to your house right now.
I don't have a house.
I
It
know.
got
You get-
destroyed.
But you're. I know you in my neighborhood. There's the kid that has the aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, there was a kid that had the cool stuff. Where we gotta go over there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were like the first one to get a Nintendo system in our neighborhood, so all the kids were there for that.
yeah, I didn't get on board with that till later. Other kids did, and I'd spend all my time at their house. It's funny when you look at toys. I mean, it's young people now. I remember when I was young, I thought to myself, I'm never going to be like old people and say, well, when I was your age and things were better and blah blah blah. I'm not going to do that. And kids now have to think that we're nuts because now they have touchscreen technology and all this stuff, and they don't really play with toys, which they don't get to exercise those muscles, the brain muscles of the imagination, because imagery and everything is spoon-fed to them, so they don't have to create as much. And if they do create, it's with digital assistance, and I think they probably look at us and say, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'd like to see now I know a little kid's going to play with a bright colored ball. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like 10-year-olds and stuff.
Yeah. Do you see kids actually
Play with toys.
playing with toys now?
No.
They don't, do
No.
they?
No, they're
They have a touchpad.
on TikTok.
They're on TikTok
They're
making
on
videos.
That's scary, man, because when you're a kid, my daughter said something so touching to me when she was 9. She said, Dad, I don't want to grow up. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, I like playing with toys. I like being a kid. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
amen, sister.
That's just it, though. I mean, when you think back to when you were playing with your toys, you didn't have a mortgage.
No,
you,
the parents were the
You didn't
the
have-
overlords of your universe.
you didn't have arthritis like we do.
Remember
you know.
when parents would tell you, I don't know if you thought this way, but well, when you grow up, like you're going to appreciate this time. And I'm like, I don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
And you people are idiots because when I'm a grown up, I'm going to spend all my money at Children's Palace. That's a toy store back then. Oh, I don't know. I couldn't understand when I was a kid. Why do grown ups not play with toys?
Yeah.
What is wrong with these people?
Yeah.
How do you not have? You got jobs. You get a paycheck. How do you not have the entire Star Wars collection on the kitchen table
Where's
for all
your
of us
Death
to enjoy
Star?
together?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're a kid, you're yeah, I know. Kids
Just
now
don't
are like,
get it.
I can't imagine what our parents would say now with all the toys we have at our house.
Yeah. Well, my mom.
but
got
you turned it
arthritis.
into a business, so you have a legit excuse.
Yeah, but we already had a house full of toys before
Well,
we did
We have
it.
a whole room set up for Legos and Funkos.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. If collecting is, if it makes you happy, that's really the only reason to do it.
Yeah.
And if you've got the knowledge to turn it into, if you can turn it into a business, good on you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can because there's a lot of other people like you that want that stuff.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
I did it for a long time. I collected comics. I had toys. I had the only toy I ever regret selling, which is really, this is going to sound really weird. I'm trying to, I think they were called Mini Mates, and they were figures. They were called Mini Mates, and you get them at the comic book store. They were like they would come in different characters, with different comic book characters.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, and then they were hot movers, man.
Yeah.
And when I started selling everything that I collected, I sold all. I had football helmets. I had busts and statues. I had tons of long boxes of comics, graded, mint condition. Some toys, not many toys. But when I sold all that stuff, the one I regret selling was a misprint, and it was an on card, and it said the Hulk, but it had Elektra in the packaging. And it was never open. And I wish I never would have sold it because I was like, it was a mini mate, and it said Hulk, and it had the Hulk card, but inside was Elektra, and I was like, man, it's gonna be worth some money. Get it out of here before it gets ruined. Like you said, stuff gets ruined.
Yeah, exactly. Life happens. Stuff gets ruined.
It's weird because that's the one I always think I wish I wouldn't have let go. And I ruined a bunch of statues. You know how? Somebody's gonna throw their shoe at me for this.
Blowing them
What?
up.
Put them in the dishwasher.
No.
They were hand painted. Not all of them, just a handful.
No.
A handful of them. I'm like, these things they're dirty, they're filthy, and the one, I'm like,
The faces
fine.
melt off.
We're talking about collectibles now. We went from I don't want to go into another whole area, but it just reinforces the idea of being irresponsible with these things.
Yikes.
You didn't destroy nothing. None of you.
yeah.
Well, Jackie and I
Me.
were Sid. That's his name.
Sid. That was what I was
The
trying
kid
to
from
come up
Toy
with.
Story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
the
like
neighbor
destroying
kid.
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
What?
that's like a rite of passage. You do have to destroy stuff.
So you did.
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't. You're like, no, man, I like this stuff. I mean,
That's right.
I ain't tearing my stuff up. Man, I envy people. Like, I wish I could have had the wisdom to know that back then. It's another one of those things your parents like. They tell you, and you're like, I wish I would have listened. I wish I could have shot anything with a BB gun. It didn't have to be Darth Vader. Could have blown up anything with firecrackers. It didn't have to. Well, the one thing, though, it's funny because you were talking about Death Star being janky.
Yeah.
But if memory serves me correctly, some of the plastic stuff was a lot tougher
Yeah.
than it is. For some reason, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I remember I thought that X-Wing fighter was pretty tough. The plastic little gun things came off.
Yeah, they always came off. Or like the lightsaber that was
Yeah, that
so
always
thin and it came up through the little
Through his arm.
telescopic through his arm,
Through his
and
arm.
then the part of it would always fall off.
Yep.
What's that other old expression? They don't make them like they used to.
They don't make them like
True.
Yeah, Tonka toys were. I don't know if you guys
Oh, I have so many of those.
Tonka
do. You did you say you played with
toys.
those?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is good because of the age difference. Now, when you started playing with them, were they that super hard, tough plastic or steel?
Steel.
Steel.
Are they still steel now?
I don't think so.
Okay, so now I think they're hard plastic stuff. They're not. That's one thing they don't make like that. You used to be able to. We used one of the Tonka trucks to sit and stand on our feet and like a skateboard and go down the driveway with it, and it would go flying and tumbling and everything. And it was like a real. I mean, this thing, man, was indestructible. And I saw
We used to dig up our yard with them.
Yeah.
And you could use the little backhoes and the bulldozers, and they would push dirt, man. Those things were phenomenal. They were so indestructible. And now, I saw them later. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I mean, you could move Earth.
Literally.
You would get a little workout as a kid with that stuff. I didn't. One thing I wanted as a kid. I mean, you may. I want to hear about who's got one of these because this goes so perfect with toys. We all were into action figures. I wanted a sandbox.
So did I.
And I would go to somebody else's house and play with it, and then I felt like, is it? Even though I was a kid, I'm like, is it like something that's just for little kids? Because this thing is awesome, and I wanted one. Can I have a sandbox? No, you're not going to want that in a few years. We're not going to. And I'm like, man, I can have my Jawas. I mean, the possibilities are unlimited. You wanted one too. You never got one.
Never had one.
Never had one. No.
Did you want one?
No.
No.
We had one at some point, and then like you play with it and you play with the sand, and then it rains.
Right.
And then,
So then you can build tunnels.
no, then it wasn't cool anymore. I was like, yeah, it was lame.
I liked playing at the creek or finding a little area.
Yeah.
I was into Hot Wheels too and Matchbox when I was we're talking like second or third grade. All the boys, we had that. And
I have a bunch of those and I couldn't stand them.
yeah,
I never enjoyed them.
for me, it was like only 1 year. It wasn't a long lasting thing. And then I thought, well, I like the airplanes. I started getting the warplanes, and that kind of ran. But one of my favorite things to do, I've done a million times in the house, whether not with Hot Wheels, but with a bigger car, like not a Tonka trunk size, but any car, is build ramps. You get a Monopoly board. You unfold that thing and you lay it over top of a shoebox or something, and you just all the way, and then all the noise and the stuff breaks, and mom.
Or you can take your Hot Wheels tracks and like split it up and have it ramped up.
Yep, you can do. You get creative. Remember,
Yeah.
did they have the smash up derby cars when you guys were?
No.
Okay, so this was amazing. The door, the trunk, everything broke off, and it had a ripcord in it. It was like you pull this ripcord out, and it was plastic with little teeth, and there was a wheel. You know what it is?
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so put it on the floor, and your buddy'd be on the other end, and you'd make them crash into each other, and stuff. The doors and everything would fly off
That
everywhere.
sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's called Crash Up Derby, and then whoever lost the most parts of their car obviously was the one that lost. And you talk about small pieces, and man, I think it came with a purple one and a green one, and we played with those things for hours. But then once you lose all the parts, it ain't no fun anymore. So you got to do this ramp building time, and it's time to smash other stuff.
Evil Knievel over here.
Yeah, Evil Knievel, same kind of. Yeah. Did you guys watch The Toys That Made Us?
Yes.
Yes, I was just thinking about that.
It's a great show on Netflix.
Some of it I zipped through because I'm like,
Yeah.
not this one. Like, well, I mean, not the whole show. I mean, segments like My Little Pony and that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah.
That doesn't resonate with me at all. Like, I'm less than zero interested. But I watched the Turtles.
Yeah, the turtle one was really entertaining.
The Star Wars was pretty cool because all they had to do was pay $10,000 a year to him, and they lost the rights.
And they
'cause
lost
didn't
it.
do it.
Isn't that? I remember that.
Yeah. And now they look back and just all the millions they lost out on.
Billions.
Billions. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when it comes to toys, man, it's just, I remember when I was a kid in art school, we had a speaker come, and he's like, listen, he talked about Lucas and toys.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about art. And he said, to be successful in art, you don't have to be talented. And he goes, you don't have to be talented. You have to have a good idea. Mm-hmm. He said, how hard is it to draw peanuts?
Right.
He said, Charles Schultz is the highest paid cartoonist in the world right now. And this was in like 83.
Yeah.
He said he makes $70,000 a day. That's how much he makes. And he said, and it's from the royalties from notebooks and tennis shoes and all that stuff. And the Nike guy, the guy that made the swish, gets 25 cents for every pair of shoes they sell. And I'm like, he goes, now think about this. He goes, none of this is like real hard. His whole point was, don't be discouraged if you don't have fat mad skills if you got good ideas. Mm-hmm. And it was that was a really bad idea not to go with the Lucas
with the toy deal.
because Mark Hamill said later that, I mean, kind of a sarcastic remark about Lucas being more interested in selling toys than making movies. But in his defense, Mark Hamill wasn't saying that from his heart. He was quoting something someone. He goes, "Well, they said this about him."
Right.
It was one of those type
Right.
of things. But he did say something funny. I know I'm going down a rabbit hole, but it's just real quick about Lucas. He said I asked him for advice when I was young. I said, what should I get into that's long term? And he said, animation. That way you don't have to deal with actors.
Right. And look
And
how
he goes,
many
he's telling me
things-
this, and I'm an actor. And he goes, I'm an actor in his movies. I
But
know,
look at
we're-
how many things Mark Hamill has been involved with now in
Joker.
animation. He's the
Yeah.
Joker.
Oh, he's the Joker. He's Wolverine in the video game.
Yeah.
The first one.
He never has to leave his house.
No, he's a
He can phone in everything.
nice guy, except for that liberal stripe through him. But other than that,
Hey,
I'm
hey.
just kidding.
Hey now.
Doing something here.
Sorry, I don't want to pull back a stump. No, Mark Hamill was a big part of my childhood. All right, let's close out. Vince, what say you? What's your closing words on this whole topic? Anything dear to your heart from the toy world of your? What would you go back to and say, I want it back right now?
Definitely the aircraft carrier.
I don't see how you
Yeah.
could not say that if you had that as a kid.
I know.
That sounds tremendous.
Yeah.
Where would you put it? If you think about it, if you had it right now, people come over and go, dude, what?
Right.
I know.
Right? Like, where would you put that thing? Holy crap.
I don't know.
Find room.
Yeah. Build a whole room for it.
What about, well, you didn't get the tank though, did you?
No.
No, I still want it though.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I just love all the toys. I love the way they make us feel, and I love the fact that, we can interact with other people who feel the same way about geeky, nerdy stuff.
That's the beauty of it right there.
Yeah.
It's the toys. People can put their differences aside because everyone loved being 9.
Yes.
Everyone loved being 10. Everyone loved using their imagination. Everyone loved when we didn't have politics and bills and arguments and all that. So that it's one of the greatest places to find common ground with other human beings is the love for toys.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. I guess that does it for us this week. This flew by.
Yeah, dude.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks. Oh, wait, but keep on. The name again is
eTurtleshop.com.
eTurtleshop.com. All right. Thanks, Vince. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All
Thank you.
Yep.